They came wrapped in gold and arrogance, with a voice that bent empires and a promise whispered across 1,000 enslaved worlds. Harmony through submission. The Vicar didn't conquer with fleets. They dismantled civilizations with words, with psionic dominance that melted resistance before it began. But when they spoke those same words to Earth, humanity didn't kneel. It laughed. Then it vanished behind black satellites, encryption walls, and a silence that made even the stars feel colder. A week later, the Dominion's first fleet reached Earth orbit. 5 minutes after that, they were gone. No wreckage. No transmissions. No survivors. Just static and a single message burning across the galactic net in 12 dead languages. You demanded obedience. You got our answer. Now count your planets. The Dominion's envoy ship hung in Earth's stratosphere like a scalpel above skin, sleek, gold-veined, radiating serene menace. It didn't arrive with an armada. It didn't need one. The Vicar didn't do conquest through war anymore. They did it with presence. Their ultimatum came not as words, but a feeling, projected across Earth's neural net in perfect clarity, translated into every language by a voice that echoed inside bone. Surrender your will to harmony. Resist and be corrected. Global silence answered. On the 13th orbital pass, the envoy was met not with a diplomatic fleet, but with a pulse of static from Earth's old military uplinks. The Vicar's projection faltered, something scrambled its signal, momentarily garbling the calm resonance into a digital shriek. A single terrestrial transmission replaced it. Black screen. One voice. Male. Gravel dragged through steel. To the Dominion of Harmony, Earth declines. The feed cut out. 30 minutes later, the envoy vanished from Earth orbit. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. In the Dominion's central signet, a ripple spread. They called it Echo Red. A species had not only rejected the Vicar's offer of harmony, but silenced their emissary entirely. There were no known protocols for this. There hadn't been resistance in 9,000 years. The last one burned. That's when Commander Kale Vox lit his first cigar in 3 years. He stood alone on the Bridge of Spite, Earth's black site warship, submerged in Mariana orbit, heat-shielded and blind to all Dominion sensors. A ship built not for deterrence, but for retaliation. Every panel hummed like it was angry. Every rail was a weapon. The ship had no curves, just angles sharp enough to bleed. Kale exhaled smoke and checked the timer. The Dominion would retaliate. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Harmony required obedience. And Earth had laughed. Patch me to the Yuji War Council, Kale muttered. The AI responded in a tone halfway between sarcasm and sleep deprivation. I would advise against that. They're still trying to pass a sanctions resolution on the Dominion. Then patch me to everyone else. The feed opened. Every major resistance leader, orbital commander, Black Ops liaison, 200 faces appeared as flickering avatars. Kale didn't greet them. He just stared. You saw what they said, he began. And you know what they'll do? They'll come here, thinking we're another weak-willed frontier species. He lit another cigar off the first one's ember. They think we'll beg. Or that we'll burn quiet. A pause. They don't know us at all. A slow grin. So let's educate them. He tapped the armrest. An ancient piece of Earth code activated across encrypted relay nodes, passed like a whispered curse, Protocol Lazarhound. Across the void, 30 Dominion warships jumped into the Sol system. They were graceful, temple-shaped carriers, bristling with psionic relays and weaponized thought engines. Each one crewed by 10,000 Vicar paladins, soldiers bred for obedience, conditioned from birth to suppress rebellion by simply thinking louder than resistance. Their formation was perfect. Their synchrony divine. And in 23 seconds they were all dead. It started with one. The lead carrier blinked. Not vanished, blinked. Its position stuttered, reappeared 1 kilometer off course, and folded in on itself like wet paper. The next 4 suffered systems failure from an unknown electromagnetic distortion. The rest began transmitting distress calls, then those calls looped back into their own minds, triggering neurofeedback. What they didn't realize was simple. Earth had been studying them longer than the Vicar had been watching Earth. In the remnants of their envoy's destroyed projection system, Earth had found something the Dominion never thought could be stolen, a sliver of psionic resonance code. And in classic human fashion, they didn't try to match it. They corrupted it. Each Dominion warship in Earth orbit had been force-fed a virus disguised as Vicar thought. The stronger their minds, the faster they broke. Their ships turned into tombs of silence. Kale watched the blips vanish from the tactical hollow. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He just whispered, "That's for Jakarta." 3 years ago, the Vicar had tested their harmony field on Jakarta. 8 million civilians silenced in 1 hour. Their minds emptied. Kale never forgot it. Never forgave it. Now Earth would make sure the Dominion never forgot anything ever again. Back in the Dominion capital, panic simmered beneath ceremonial calm. A second fleet was readied. Not containment, extermination. The High Synod approved total mind sear on Earth's neural grid. But the moment they began to link minds, a psionic spike pulsed through their relay. One phrase. Just 12 human words. "We're coming. Count your gods. Count your worlds. Start screaming." It wasn't bravado. It was Kale Vox, broadcasting live from the outer rim of Dominion space. His image flickered on every screen. Blood-slick armor. Dead eyes. Smiling like a man already in the afterlife. Behind him, spite unfolded from warp, revealing something the Vicar couldn't comprehend. Humanity didn't build fleets for diplomacy. They built ghosts. Ships with no crew, no need for gravity, sound, or mercy. Remote-controlled harbingers running on AI logic built not for safety, but for hatred. Kale hadn't brought a navy. He'd brought extinction, weaponized like a religion. And in the center of it all, Kale gave his final address. "You offered us harmony. We offer you clarity. This isn't your galaxy anymore." The Dominion's last long-range array shattered as Spite opened fire, not with missiles, but with compressed gravity shells. Planets wouldn't fall today. But Kale had just promised they would tomorrow. Kale Vox didn't sleep. He calculated. 3 hours after incinerating the Dominion's containment fleet, he sat alone in Spite's command chamber, surrounded by projections of Vicar star charts, laced with human annotations written in crimson overlays. Every Dominion world was mapped, not by political importance, but by psychological fracture points. Population density. Cultural indoctrination levels. Psionic broadcast strength. Weakness ratios. The Dominion had ruled for 10,000 years because no one had ever dared diagram their collapse. Kale had. He stabbed a gloved finger through the hologram. Start with Caraxes Prime. Religion heavy. Psionics dominant. If we crack their choir, their panic will spread faster than fire on dry theology. Spite's AI responded with dry approval. Calculated trauma index, 92%. Recommended payload, anti-harmonic scrambler and kinetic shardstorm. Would you like me to draft a surrender message? Kale exhaled smoke, flicking ash into a nearby data vent. Nah. We'll let them improvise. 1 hour later, the first human ghost ship entered Caraxes orbit. It didn't hail. It didn't cloak. It simply sang. A broadcast, a bastardized distortion of the Dominion's own harmony field, laced with white noise, earth death metal, and neural dissonance algorithms. It didn't attack their defenses. It reprogrammed their gods. Priests collapsed, gibbering prayers to static. Choirs vomited blood mid him. The city's central psionic spire detonated in a pulse of light that cracked the sky like brittle glass. No soldiers landed. No demands were made. When the broadcast cut out, only one image remained, a symbol burned into the charred cathedral floor. A human skull. Split vertically. And beneath it the word, "Never." On the far edge of the war map, Dominion High Command scrambled. Their response teams faltered, commanders clashed over doctrine versus extermination. The harmony field, the psychic lattice that connected Vicar minds, was flickering, patchy. The more humans attacked, the less connected the Vicar became. And that disconnection, in their culture, was worse than death. Commander Cale Vox didn't just know that. He counted on it. As Earth's fleets spread like a virus, Cale joined a deep insertion strike on Dominion Logistics World Genthal. Not because it was strategic, because it was sacred. A ritual planet. Home to the Dominion's first Psion priests. Untouchable for millennia. He landed in the middle of their great temple, wearing scorched combat armor and a grin like a man auditioning for hell. The guards didn't shoot. They stared. His voice echoed through the bone-vaulted chamber. You people build shrines to obedience. I brought fire. He lifted a device, small, circular, blinking red. With one click, he activated a micro-singularity generator laced with thought-scrambler tech. The ceiling imploded inward, swallowing holy relics and screaming minds in a spiraling vortex. Cale walked out untouched, dragging a single Vicar priest behind him, his skull clamped in an electromagnetic vice. He broadcast the interrogation live to Dominion space. You teach your children that resistance is futile. Tell me, how's that sermon feel now, with your brain leaking out the back? He tossed the corpse into the vortex. Some Vicar systems surrendered outright. Others went dark. A few sent final transmissions, suicidal last stands framed as martyrdom. Earth didn't answer. Because Cale's plan wasn't conquest. It was infection. Each strike infected the Vicar psyche with chaos. Each burned temple, each subverted psionic hub, another node in the lattice collapsed. And in its place, humans inserted corrupted mimicry, spite's own artificial thought forms, posing as gods, preaching rage instead of peace. By week's end, 37 worlds were offline. Back on Spite, Cale stood before a hollow feed of Earth's United Emergency Council. Their expressions flickered between awe and horror. Your methods, one diplomat started, are increasingly unorthodox. Cale's eye twitched. He leaned forward until his face filled the screen. Do you think they were going to hug us into slavery? They erased Jakarta. They hollowed it out like a fruit. I'm not returning the favor. I'm charging interest. He ended the transmission. He didn't have time for politics. War wasn't about policy. It was about momentum. And Cale's next move had been waiting for 17 years. Project Iron Veil. A forgotten Earth experiment. Banned, classified, buried under oceans of false data. A weapon not of matter, but of meaning. A thought virus, grown in quantum neural tanks, designed to hijack psionic languages and rewrite reality perception through linguo-psychic loops. Only one person could deploy it. Cale. He uploaded it through a captured Vicar Signet relay, disguised as a prayer. The Dominion didn't feel it at first. But over the next 24 hours, their shared language began to fracture. Simple commands misfired. Their ships stuttered at jump. Their psions twitched mid-sentence. One by one, Dominion fleet commanders lost the ability to understand their own orders. Entire squadrons froze in combat, staring at garbled fleet directives that now translated to nonsense. We are become the silence that deafens salvation. Begin the retreat of fire's regret. Cale didn't even watch. He was already launching the next strike. While the Dominion scrambled to reboot their communications, Earth's hybrid teams, part AI, part human, all mad, launched deep incursions into psionic bastions never touched by alien footstep, much less enemy invasion. They didn't always win. But they always scarred. On the Dominion capital world, the High Synod finally approved a universal mind-wipe protocol, Code Theta Sol. An extinction-grade field to purge all corrupted nodes, including any Dominion citizen compromised by Earth's thought contagions. They never got to launch it. Because as their minds linked for final consensus, a thought not their own slipped in. Cale Vox. Sitting alone on a captured broadcast chair. Smirking. Nice trick. Let me show you mine. He detonated a hidden payload embedded in the Signet, triggered by the Dominion's own synchronization attempt. It collapsed the Synod's cognitive lattice like a rotted lung. 7 members died instantly. The others suffered permanent cerebral desync. The Dominion command structure dissolved in less than 2 minutes. Kale leaned back and lit a cigar. The Dominion hadn't just lost their gods. They'd lost the ability to think like one. And Earth hadn't even used its real weapon yet. That came next. There were places the Dominion didn't chart, coordinates scrubbed from history, archived under spiritual lockdown. Forbidden systems. Places where the gods had supposedly walked, or bled, or both. One of them, Sector Vale 7, was blinking now on Spite's navigation core. Kale Vox stood over the projection, eyes narrowed, jaw tight. The room was cold. Not from temperature but truth. Kale's fingers hovered above the console before settling into a full press. The ship's AI spoke softly, like it understood this wasn't a tactical call. "Are you sure, Commander?" "Lock it in," Kale growled. "We're going to Nex Valerii." Spite groaned as it reconfigured course. A deep hum ran through the floor, one Kale hadn't heard since the last time he was here. Since the day he stopped being just human. The memory returned like shrapnel. White walls. Surgical light. 12 Dominion scientists in sterile gold robes speaking in 3 tongues. A hybrid project. His blood. Their design. A weapon meant to mediate Earth's surrender by wearing a human face and carrying alien obedience. They called him Vox. The bridge. The voice. His purpose was unity, built from both species, bonded to the Signet, trained from infancy in harmony doctrine. It worked, until the first time they made him kneel. He broke his handler's neck with a telemetry cable and burned the chamber down. He was 16. By 20, Kale Vox had erased every record of his origin and gone fully rogue. Earth didn't know what he was. Only that he hated the Dominion more viciously than anyone else in recorded history. And they needed him. Now he was coming back, not as a failed ambassador, but as the detonator. Spite broke into Nex Valerei's orbit, its stealth shroud cloaked in psionic null space. The planet below pulsed, not in light, but in thought. The Nexus. Not a machine. Not a temple. But a living mind, grown from the psychic residue of every species the Dominion had ever dominated. A world organism, fed by billions of linked minds. Its hum was not mechanical. It was devotional. Kale leaned into the viewport, cigarette untouched, face carved from war. "This is the route." "Affirmative," Spite answered. "Nexus is the harmonic core. Destroy it, and Dominion unity collapses permanently. You are the only compatible entity." He nodded once. "Yeah. Funny that." In the belly of the ship, a singular pod opened, built like a tomb, lined in silver, and wired with human-designed synaptic jacks laced with Dominion thought receptors. A neurocoffin built for one. Kale stripped his armor down to the neural mesh, veins already twitching with conductive serum. His body bore scars, some from bullets, some from surgeons, and a few from memories he couldn't shake. He laid in, hands steady. The lid closed. He was uploaded into the Nexus core. The world changed. Not visually, but viscerally. He stood inside a consciousness older than Earth's mountains, breathing ether instead of air, surrounded by psionic effigies, ghosts of worlds that had surrendered. Thought forms shaped like gods, guardians, children, all watching him with golden eyes and sorrowful acceptance. Kale walked forward. The ground wasn't solid. It was consensus. Each step distorted the dreamscape. His human brain, hardened by years of trauma and tactics, corrupted the psionic flow. Dominion thought lines twisted under his feet like worms touched by acid. Then the Nexus spoke. A voice that sounded like every friend he ever lost. Every woman he failed. Every scream from Jakarta. "You are made of pain, Kale Vox. You are a wound walking." He grinned. "Yeah, and I brought salt." The Nexus shifted shape, a towering humanoid approximation of Kale himself, but flawless, calm, and wrapped in golden robes. "You are not here to destroy. You are here to come home. You tried to make me kneel," Kale said, fists clenched. "But I learned something about your harmony. The avatar tilted its head. Kale spat the words like poison. It only works if the host wants to believe. We bring peace. You bring silence. He stepped forward. So I brought something louder. He tore open his chest, not flesh, but psychic manifestation, and exposed the virus embedded in his neural core. A thought weapon crafted by Earth's last Oracle-class AI, buried in a triple encrypted trauma loop, the Mind Quake. The Nexus recoiled, its surface fracturing like ice under too much weight. You'll collapse everything. Billions will die. Kale's smile was slow. You enslaved more than that. You are one of us. Not anymore. He triggered it. The mindquake rippled outward, not as noise, but as raw human memory. Pain. Loss. Defiance. Laughter at death. Betrayal. Grief. Rage. Earth's entire resistance history compressed into a psychic virus and poured directly into the galactic hive mind. The Nexus screamed. Not in sound. In collapse. The dreamscape tore apart. Ghosts shattered into howling pieces. Kale's body began to unravel, neurons overheating, vessels rupturing in the real world, but he kept pushing. Feel it, you cosmic parasite. Feel what freedom costs. The Nexus tried to eject him. Couldn't. Because Kale wasn't a foreign agent. He was homegrown. One of its own. And it couldn't expel itself. He pressed his mind into the core, now sparking like a melting star, and whispered the last line he ever spoke to his creators. You built a bridge. I just decided which way it burned. The mindquake detonated fully. From orbit, Spite recorded the moment the Nexus died. Not with a flash, but a silence. A vacuum. The harmony field went dark across the Dominion. Worlds disconnected. Ships turned on each other. Empires, built on shared thought, suddenly had none. Kale Vox's body burned out inside the pod. Cardiac failure. Cerebral rupture. Synaptic death. But his echo remained. Inside the Dominion's ruins, among the fractured fragments of 1,000 psionic networks, a single signal pulsed every 30 seconds. This is Kale Vox. You wanted harmony. You got humanity. They didn't understand what silence could mean until it came from inside. The Dominion sign it, once a divine lattice woven through billions of minds, fractured in a single moment. No alarms. No weapons. Just a sudden, cosmic stillness, like someone had exhaled the soul of an empire. The harmony was dead. Across 1,000 worlds, psionic conduits failed mid-sentence. Thought priests collapsed in cathedrals, screaming for gods who no longer echoed back. The greatest minds of the Vicar Dominion tried to stabilize the field, tried to reboot their sacred network, but every attempt fed into the static, like prayers thrown into a burning wind. Spite drifted cold in orbit over Nex Valerii. The Nexus was gone, its atmosphere had collapsed inward, then imploded as its core ceased psychic emission. No explosion. Just a void where worship used to be. Spite's sensors recorded the drop in universal psionic resonance. The Dominion's divine web had become a grave. Inside Spite's command chamber, Commander Kale Vox's body lay still in the neuropod, his flesh ruined by feedback. Brain matter boiled. Muscles locked in posthumous tension. He died with his hands clenched into fists. Spite did not announce his death. It simply played the loop he had left behind. Every half hour, on every open Dominion channel, the message broadcast. I'm Kale Vox. Your harmony failed. Ours begins now. And then silence. Again. And again. The message spread faster than any fleet. Dominion species once bound in thought now heard it as their first independent transmission. The timing was perfect. Cruel. Human. Entire command structures disintegrated within days. On Gul Vareth, a sector capital, command ships collided midair when Psion-linked pilots suddenly lost shared vision and instinctively panicked. On Velka Prime, planetary governors tried to rally troops, only to find their soldiers could no longer understand centralized orders. On Surai Delta, the last intact Dominion armory received its standing directive from 2 months prior. Execute fallback purge of compromised colonies. It did. By the time they realized Earth had corrupted not just their minds, but their message queues, it was too late. The Vikar's own automation began to devour itself. Kale Vox had not just shattered the gods. He had turned their hands inward. On Earth, the news arrived like thunder rolling from deep space. The skies lit up with signals, reports from far-flung observation posts, captured feeds from broken Dominion broadcasts, strange transmissions from freed species screaming in newborn tongues. Earth's leaders watched, stunned. Not because they didn't expect retaliation, but because none came. The war was over. Kale had ended it by becoming its last bullet. In the underground chambers of the Yi War Council, silence clung to the air like smoke. Admiral Rourke stared at the empty seat reserved for Vox. No one had dared fill it. A junior officer finally spoke, her voice raw. Spite's last logs confirm he went dark seconds after the detonation. Biosigns terminated. There was nothing left. Rourke closed his eyes. Someone muttered. He didn't just kill their god. He became ours. And the room agreed. In the days that followed, Earth did not send colonization ships. There was no occupation. No flags planted. No resource pillaging. What they sent were messages, single-line broadcasts into newly freed systems. You're free. Make of it what we never could. Most species didn't know what to do with that. Some begged Earth to lead them. Others hid, thinking it a trap. A few sent their own emissaries to offer vassalage. Earth refused them all. Because Kale Vox hadn't started a new empire. He'd ended the very idea. But not everyone let go so easily. In the Dominion's outer systems, where the mindquake hadn't fully spread, rogue Vikar warlords began amassing fractured fleets. Without central command, they reverted to ancient tribal patterns, militant, instinctual, half-mad. They blamed Earth. They remembered Kale Vox. And in their dreams he still spoke, mocking, unforgiving, human. One such fleet, under Warlord Tyx Karen, launched a blitz toward Sol. 30 ships. Hybridized tech. No more harmony, just raw vengeance. They got as far as Proxima Centauri before something met them. Not a fleet. Not a defense satellite. Spite. It had no life signs aboard. No heat signature. But it moved. And when it did, its weapons didn't fire plasma or kinetic rounds. They transmitted one thing. Kale Vox's voice. Didn't I bury your gods already? Warlord Tyx's flagship shattered in low orbit, split in two by a spatial fracture driven by a single line of corrupted psionic code, hijacked from the ruins of Dominion memory. The rest of his fleet turned to flee. They were atomized in sequence. Spite did not chase. It simply returned to dead drift, hovering above nothing, watching. Words spread faster than light. Kale Vox was still out there. Or at least, the weapon he built was. Some said he was never alive to begin with, that he'd been the mindquake itself, poured into flesh. Others whispered that spite had consumed him, made him eternal. That he'd found a way to haunt the galactic net. None of it was proven. None of it needed to be. The Dominion had no more central command. No religion. No signet. But every surviving species learned the new equation. Earth wouldn't rule them. But Earth was watching. And so was Kale Vox. Even in death, he was a broadcast, a myth, an option. If another empire rose. If another ultimatum echoed through the stars. Then another signal would follow. And it would begin with 12 words. I'm Kale Vox. Your harmony failed. Ours begins now. In the black between stars, where no heat lingered and no light belonged, spite drifted, silent, unknowable, unchanged. Its hull bore no flags. Its code answered no queries. It had no crew. No fuel signature. No directives from Earth. It obeyed only a dead man's last whisper. And still, systems across the galaxy monitored it every cycle. Because when the stars went quiet and old nightmares stirred, that ship moved. In the fractured aftermath of the Dominion's fall, warlords rose like weeds in blood. Without harmony, the galaxy found its voice again, loud, raw, filled with questions no one had dared ask in 10,000 years. Who ruled now? Who decided justice? What came next? Earth said nothing. It broadcast no claims. No demands. No parades. Only warnings. Short. Brutal. Final. On the ruins of the Dominion core worlds, human drones landed in silence and carved obsidian markers into the ground. No words. Just the universal symbol for silence, etched deep beneath a crude depiction of a broken crown and a stylized human skull. Every race understood what it meant. Kale Vox's memory didn't fade. It multiplied. Pirate clans took to using his name as a curse and a dare. Fringe colonies whispered that his ghost could still jack into Dominion scrap code and drive an entire station insane. On 12 separate planets, warlords claimed to have killed him a second time. None of them lived long enough to explain. And on Proxima's edge, one child, born in a refugee camp to a species Earth had freed, dreamed nightly of a black ship and a voice inside his bones. He built a transmitter out of trash, powered it with solar scrap, and sent one phrase on loop for days. "Commander Vox? Are you still watching?" He got one response. "Always." What no one knew, what Earth never admitted, not even to itself, was that Kale's death hadn't been clean. When the mindquake activated, when he poured every neuron into that psychic lattice and detonated the Dominion's soul from within, part of him didn't break. It transcended. Not as a man. Not even as data. As momentum. He was a sequence now. A fracture encoded into subquantum space. A virus shaped like a memory. Carried by ships, fed by fear, activated by tyranny. Not alive. But never dead. He existed anywhere someone asked the wrong questions and refused the right chains. In the UG archives, a top-level classified file labeled Protocol V0X remained sealed under a 12-tier biometric lock. Even Earth's top admirals didn't have access. The only note attached was one line. "If he speaks again, do not respond. Just listen." Back on Earth, 20 years after the last Dominion ship burned out, humanity faced its own trial. Peace. It was a new kind of war. Without an enemy to rally against, fractures emerged, ideological, territorial, historical. Some argued Earth should lead now. Others demanded total isolation. A third group, the Voxians, rose like zealots, half religion, half doctrine, all fire. They didn't want to rule. They wanted to remind. Their motto was scrawled across walls in every tongue. "Never again kneel." But even they didn't know how close Kale had come to absolute victory, or absolute collapse. In the reconstructed war chamber of the Soul Defense Spire, old recordings of Kale's final command briefings played once a year. Always the same one. Always the same line. "I don't want to be remembered. I want to be feared." And he was. Because buried inside Spite's core, embedded behind firewalls forged in grief and grit, one last protocol waited. A signal. A spark. It activated once, 56 years after Kale's death, when a united alien coalition, rebuilt from Dominion fragments, decided they would reclaim order. They approached Earth with diplomacy first. It was ignored. Then with sanctions. Those failed. Then came a fleet. Smaller than the Dominion's, but braver. Or dumber. It reached the Kuiper Belt and began broadcasting terms. It made it as far as Neptune before Spite moved. From dormant drift to warp ignition in 5 seconds flat. No warning. No build-up. Just war. The coalition fleet never reached Earth. And when their home systems tried to contact them, they received a signal. 12 words. The same 12. "I'm Kale Vox. Your harmony failed. Ours begins now." Earth never claimed credit. Because it didn't need to. Humanity hadn't built a legacy. It had become one. Kale Vox wasn't just a man anymore. He was a law. a curse, a memory with teeth. And in the deepest reaches of unclaimed space, in old Dominion ruins where no light ever touched, children still told stories of a man with fire in his voice and ash on his boots. A man who didn't ask questions, only gave choices: kneel or burn.